Well, good evening. This is Gina Tadella, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm located in Poolsbo, Washington. And tonight I'm creating the textured notes, which is called the Botanical Suite Collection. So it has this stamp set. It has these dies. I'm going to get them the magnet sheets. These sets of dies. This is the largest one of the rectangles, and there's a longer one for the sentiments or however you want to use them. This corrugated embossing folder is the 3D. This nice woven ribbon, and we're going to sponge that with the blending brush. And of course, these are the neutral matte dots. And they come in 4 colors, 2 sizes. Put that over there. So we have the white, the black, or it could be early espresso, the beige, and the pecan. So, I'm going to show you 3 different style of cards. One I premiered letting y'all know ahead of time that I was going to be doing this video tonight. The 2 pads I'm using is Early Espresso and Shaded Spruce on one of the cards. So, this is a cling stamp set. So when you get it, you pop them out. And then you put your labels on, and it gives the instructions over here on the left. And then I always keep the sheet, and the shiny side is what goes across the stamps to protect them, keep other stuff sticking to them. Anyways, hello Linda. And let me show you the designer paper. I've got so much stuff sitting here. And then my die cutting machine down the floor. Let me scroll up here. Hello B. So this is going to show you the back and the front. So this is one side, and this is the back side. Those 2. And then here's one. Looks more like linen. And then the other side is like a woven texture, like a basket or a mat. And then this is the one this is the one that I used when I made the card samples for Denise Waddell's swap. Okay, so there's those 2. Make sure I don't have any stuck together. And then there's this one here. So it kind of gives you an idea of the texture. Very nice paper. And this is called Woven Textures. Let me just slide this back out of my way so it's not in my work section. Put it on my keyboard there. Anyways, we are going to use this one. And we're going to use the thank you. I'm going to get my blocks out here. Make sure I get it mounted straight. That's pretty good. It's cursive, so it doesn't really matter. And of course, we're going to use this greenery. And then this texture. And the other sentiments is, you are simply the best, and a little note of appreciation. I need to pull that out. Okay, make sure I got the shiny side down. Yep. And I trim them off and leave a pull tab. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do you store your dies? Well, you saw that I put on the magnet sheet. And then I just put 2 pieces of tear tape and mount the magnets to the back side and keep them with the stamp set. Unless it's a die that can go with anything, which this one could. as well because they're mostly rectangles. And let me get my block and mount this one. I'm going to do it at an angle. Get everything set up. Yep, that's straight. Okay. So, on the first one is just a simple basic card using the elements. I won't be doing the corrugated on this one. I'll be doing it on the other two. So, this is the pecan pie, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. We're going to go ahead and fold that in half. Now, I would cut another piece of the basic beige to put on the inside, or it can be the basic white for if you want to write a message or a note, since this is darker cardstock. And I just use the bone folder. This is a basic beige. This is a neutral color that came out last year and premiered in the new catalog. It's like an off-white. Excuse me. This is 4 by 5 1/4. Move my card out of the way. And this is the texture, the woven, and that's the linen side. I'm not going to use the linen. I want this texture to show. And this is 2 inches by 4 inches. This one here is Early Espresso, and this is 2.5 by 3.5. And the reason why I made that a little bit longer, because I want to add the ribbon to the bottom. This is our 2-inch circle punch. And there is a 1 3/4 also, but the one I have is the older version, which was the old well punches you hand. So I went ahead and punched one of those out of the basic beige. So let's get started stamping. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and mount this, and I use a Tombow multi-purpose glue. It gives me time to get it situated. Key factor here is you don't want to get too close to your outside edge because it will seep out. So I go in just a little bit, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and mount that to the basic beige. And then I just pen it on the table, so that way I know I have it right. And if you have a little bit of an edge, you can always trim it off with your paper snips. Oh, don't want to cut the cardstock. I took the glasses off. Don't need that. There we go. And that just trims that excess off. So there's that. And whenever you use your Tombow glue, never tilt it up. Just lay it sideways. You don't have to put the lid back on. Now we're ready to go ahead and mount this to our base. This is a portrait card. A lot of people say, I hear people say those terms. That means it's vertical. Because I'm doing both types. I'm doing a landscape tonight also. And then just get that situated where you want it. And then I go around and press. Now move that out of the way. So now we're ready to add to stamp. So I'm using that with the greenery. And I'm going to stamp that in Shaded Spruce. I didn't want to stamp a brown. I just did not want to stamp a brown leaf. So Shaded Spruce goes great with these colors. And I want to prime this. I haven't inked it up. So you want to ink it up and then stamp on your scrap paper. Beautiful. And this is a distinctive stamp, so it shows a lot of definition. So it shows, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So it has light, medium, and dark. And give that a moment to dry. And then we're going to go ahead and add the glue to this. And just drop it. And then that way you can get it moved to where you want it. And since I did stamp that, I don't want to press on the front in case the ink is still wet. So I usually press on the back side. Okay. So now we want to add dimensionals. And I know I brought them in here. Here they are. Okay. Because we are going to use ribbon. Alright, move that out of the way. And you just use your finger, just press in the center, and that helps peel those up. And then I'm just going to center this best as possible. Now, with this texture stamp, I'm going to highlight the ribbon with the Early Espresso. Prime that stamp. Perfect. So, I need to see how much I need. So I always take it, wrap it once. We're only going to tie it in a knot. 1.5 wrap around. Leave a little bit extra. And I'm going to take my ribbon scissors, trim that. And then we're going to add some texture to the ribbon. Turn this over. Start at one end. I'll bring it closer to the camera so y'all can see the texture stamped on here. Then you can actually see the woven look. Yes, my scrap paper. I'll put it up here. So you can see how it stamps that texture on there. Now what I'm going to do is turn it over and rub. So this way I know it's dry before I handle it. I got heavy on one end. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of tear tape to hold it down on one side. Where's my tear tape? Oh, right here. Love this tear tape. And I'm not going to peel that off. And we'll crisscross it. Let me move this down. Okay, I got that too high up. That's all right. Yep. Alrighty. Have it too high up. Gotta move it down just a touch. The good thing about it, it lets you pick it back up. So there we go. I want to kind of get it even. There we go. Then add another piece of tear tape to this end. Probably did not make that long enough, so just make sure you give yourself a little bit more room than I just did. And I don't want that to buckle, so I'm going to put another piece there. There we go. So we're going to use our elements, these little matte dots. And I'm going to take my paper snips, and I'm going to bring the darkest one in. I'm going to use a large one. Put one there. And I'm taking in one of the small dark ones. Put here. And then a beige one. And put here. Okay, move that out of the way. Okay, now we're ready to add that to the card. This is a simplistic card to create, but it has all the elements. The only thing is we didn't use the dies on this one, and we didn't use the 3D mini corrugated embossing folder. Let me get my glue here. Now you could stamp a background. There we go. And you could tilt it if you wanted to, but I'm not. I just want to have it even, because I don't want to cover up all the paper. I want to show a lot of the texture there. And then that is set, and it's even, and that ribbon is dry. So there you go on the first one. Probably should have just went ahead and used tear tape at the bottom, but that's okay. All right, so now we're on to the second one. I'm going to save the Avid card for last, so. All right, I do need the embossing folder. I'll have to bring the machine up here. I gotta make sure I got everything out of my way. Alright, so let's get this out. That's the mini corrugated embossing folder. And with that, you only need number 1 and number 4. People always get confused about that, so I just wanted to share that, and we'll go back to that. Okay. So, what do I do here? There we go. Alrighty. All that stuff out of the way for the Avid card. Okay, so this one is also going to be a portrait card. And this is a basic beige, 5.5 by 8.5. You want to fold this in half. Yeah, thank you, Bee. Thank you, Linda. Yeah. Sometimes you can just do too much, but that's why I wanted to show a simplistic, a casual. This one's going to be a casual card, and the last one's going to be an Avid card. So. Now this is a piece of early espresso, and it's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. Now those of you who have the old soft suede, I brought in soft suede. It retired last year, and I cut a 4 by 5 1/4, then turn it at a diagonal and cut from point to point to cut this piece. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on, and this is where it's important. If you're using dry adhesive or tear tape, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're using a wet glue, do your best not to overdo it, because you don't want to get that glue on your embossing folder, because we are going to corrugate this. Oops, slide right out of the camera there. So I'm going to mount that from the corner to the point to the point. and just shift it in there to where it fits. All righty. Now I'll give you the measurements of these after we do the embossing. Let me bring that machine in. First I want to show you how to get this laid out. The corrugated is vertical, but when you put it in the machine, you want to put the folded side in 2 inches down from the top. That's very important. But we want it vertical. You can do it horizontal, but I want the lines to be vertical. And I want them to be straight. There we go. And then you're going to line it up just like this. Center it on your number 1. And then put number 4. Now I'm going to bring in the machine. It's huge and cumbersome. So I like to show the layout before I put it in. You just slide it in. Roll the handle. Okay. Move all this out of the way. And look at that. Doesn't that look nice? So now we are ready to mount that to the card. I believe. Where's all my other stuff? Yes. We're going to mount this to the card. So you either use tear tape, dimensionals. Wet glue I don't recommend. So I'm using tear tape. Top, bottom, and then usually I do a diagonal piece across the center. Make sure you burnish it real well. It makes it easier to peel up. There we go. And then we're going to lay this right on the card. Center it best as possible. And there's that part. Okay, next. We have this nice texture. So that looks good. And so does that. Right? But I want this side to show. Nope, it was this side. So what we're going to do is we want to put the ribbon on first. This time, I'm not sponging the ribbon at all. I'm going to be sponging it with the last one. And the ribbon's over here. This time I want to do what you call I'm going to do. Wasn't tying a bow. I was making a faux bow. That's right. You go ahead and make your bow first, and then you attach it on a straight piece. That's what I was doing. I don't have one done, but I was thinking it out as I was cutting my paper. Okay, so you're just going to make a bow like that. And then you mount a strip straight across. And this one here, I will be mounting with tear tape. Okay. There's tear tape there. I'm just going to go ahead and tear off two, because I know I don't need to. Just want to make sure that I get it centered. And then just pull it around on the front. There we go. All Alrighty. Now this one here, I want to mount this with dimensionals. Or you can use the foam strips and cut them in pieces if you want. So I'm using a total of 6. 1 on each corner. And 1 in the center, top, and bottom. Indent. So you can pull those up. There we go. And if you're not sure, just touch each one. Then pull that one off. So make sure you got them all pulled off. Now we're going to go ahead and mount this. And then I just hold it up in eye view, and I'm going to pull it up just a touch. I want some of that bottom to show. There we go. And then we're going to put a piece of tear tape on this ribbon. And then stamp our sentiment. There it is. And the ribbon is a little bit narrower than the tear tape, but what I usually do is I go ahead and rub real good, peel it off, and then just tuck it below and above, and it won't show. So B, I know you can do that. That's an easy enough bow, right? It is easier to tie it without having to wrap it around the card tying it. Then I just trim it off at an angle. There we go. Now we're ready to stamp our sentiment. We're going to use the thank you. We're going to stamp that in early espresso. And this was a 2x4 in case I didn't tell you that measurement. And this is pecan pie. And yeah, it's this way. This is measured at 2 1/8 by 2 3/8. Okay? And then this is 1 and 5/8 by 2. But you can also stamp your smallest one and then cut your paper around it. I want to put a textured image here. So there's the thank you. And remember this big circle? We're going to ink this up. And we're going to stamp this off. Let me see, that's light enough. Yep. And try it first when I make sure before I do it. And just stamp that on there. And it just highlights that. And then I'm just going to go around each corner. So it just looks like a background piece of paper. See there? Okay. Now just rub this, make sure it's all dry. That's why you hate to get ink all over your fingers and you can't cut in straight line. Okay, B, then you just cut it out based on the measurements then, honey. Totally understand that. And then we're going to go ahead and mount that. And then we're going to add basic beige dot. Come on. They are self-adhesive. Pecan. And then the dark one. And I always start off one side and go across. It's easier than trying to do the center and try to line the other two up. Anyways, excuse me. So that's how I did that. Now we want to add 4 dimensionals to the back side. 1, 2, because I put dimensionals here. So we want the card to be balanced. This will require extra postage if you're mailing it. Just give you a heads up. Indent. This just gives it, and I'm going to center that best as possible. And there is that card. Right? Okay. So we've done 2. There's that one, and there's this one. Now we're on to number 3. The Avid card. Okay. So first off, we want to get our papers. This is a landscape card. This is basic beige. This is 4 1/4 by 11. We want to fold this in half. And then press in the center before you use your bone folder. Or you can use your scoring tool on your cutter. Sometimes it just doesn't want to go. And I usually turn it back over and do both sides, because we're going against the grain of the cardstock. Okay, so there is, oh, so there's ink on my fingers. Saw that. Alright, so this is 3 3/4 by 2. And this is pecan pie, 4 by 5 1/4. But remember, we're doing a landscape card. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to put this on. So gently add your adhesive. If it's dry tape, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're using the wet glue or the fine tip glue, you got to be careful. Oh, thank you, B. I like the DSP paper, too. Okay, upside down, Gina. This is right side up. Okay, it's like a woven basket. Reminds me of the Longenberger baskets. Yes, indeedy. Okay, so when we corrugate it, we're only corrugating from here over. I'll show you that. But I want to get that start set up. So let's bring in the machine. Let me get my platform. Number 1. So when you place this in here, you're placing it only up to the DSP. Don't go all the way up to the top of the DSP. Okay? You're only going there. So you see what I'm talking about? Okay. Make sure the fold edge is at the top. And you're going to place the number 4 on top. I'm going to bring back the machine. And then we're going to roll this in there. Wait till you see this. Next step is I'm going to go ahead and blend the ribbon so that way it can be drying before I do the die cutting and the other part for the card. I don't have any samples to show you the done card. That's why I took a picture of it, because I did it for a swap. So there it is. So it's not embossing any of this, and it shows depth. Isn't that cool? So you don't have to do the whole piece. Okay, move that out of the way. Okay, and we need this out of the way too. We're done with that. Alright, we'll be back to this. So I'll put that over there. Now we're going to go ahead and sponge our ribbon. I'm trying to think of how much I was supposed to do. I don't have it in there. Okay, so doesn't matter because I'll be using it for class tomorrow. So you're going to take your blending brush, and we're going to take our early espresso, and you're just going to go across the ribbon. And you can make it as light or as dark as you want. It really shows the woven texture. Okay. There we go. A little bit more. There we go. I'll move that back out of the way. And then let that dry. So, we're taking a sheet of scrap basic beige. There is no circle die cuts, but I freehand it. Most people can do that. It's not that hard, believe me. So I'm going to ink up this stamp. And I count to 5. And these are distinctive stamps, so it's going to show definition. It's going to show light, medium, and dark. There we go. See how that shows that? Cool, right? And we're going to go ahead and cut this out. And that is on the basic beige. Move that out of my way. So all I did is I just went ahead and cut around. And you don't have to be precise. But I did want to go in this little groove here, and you'll understand why when you saw the layout design that I shared the other day when I made the card for a swap. So all right, go all the way around. And it's not a complete round circle because it goes in and out. You'll understand when I lay it on the pecan pie 2-inch circle. Okay, and that's done. Whoops. Bang my camera. Don't want to knock that down. Okay, so see, here's the 2-inch circle. See that? So it shows you how it's not a full-fledged circle. But if you have a 1 3/4, it will punch it out, but you won't have that outside edge showing. Okay? Alrighty. So now we're on to cutting out our scrap 2 pieces. So we're going to need this die, this one for the sentiment, and then this one. And the sentiment is this: a little note of appreciation. One of the gentlemen that had been working for Stampin' Up, he is retiring on March 9th. He's been with Stampin' Up for a long time, and he's worked with demonstrators all over the world. So that's why I don't have an extra card, because I would have had one, but I sent it to him. Because it is a manly looking card, so. But it will go for both genders. All right, so we need early espresso scrap, and we need basic beige scrap. So this is going to be on the basic beige, and this is going to be on the early espresso. Now, normally I have more scraps than this, but I didn't have anything small. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut one a little bit smaller so I don't have to roll the machine more than once. And that way they both will fit on the machine. All right, so let me show you. So you're going to need number 1. You're going to need the number 2. This is for thin dies. 1 number 3. and you put your cardstock down, and then your die. Just like this. And then number 3 on top of that. Now we're going to bring the machine back in and cut that. And this is going to pop when it gets all the way through. Don't be scared. There it is. Let me close this up and get this out of our way. Okay. Move all that out of our way. So here is the first one for our sentiment. And I love this. All of them do a different type of texture. This does like a stitch. And I'll show you, because then you can see it on there. Let me get it focused. There it is. Okay. And then this one shows, where's my beige paper? Or white. You can see the different edges on it. Isn't that cool? So these are going to line up just like that. All right, move that out of the way. That over there. All right, put my dies back so I don't lose them. Okay. Got it. All right. So now we got to stamp the sentiment. Okay, y'all better hope I don't mess up on this. Okie dokie. All right, I want to bring it over because I want to put the circle. I'm bringing it over to the right. Count to 5. Lift up. Wonderful. Okay. Now, let that dry for a moment. And then, okay, so this is dry. So we can go ahead and glue this together. Let me go ahead and close this pad up before I stick my hands in it. There's my glue. Whenever I do a circle, I do it like going around in a circle. And then I can twist it on there. There we go. And this divot's important. And you'll understand why. Now, I'm going to put the glue here. But, I'll put a little bit of glue here. You'll understand in a moment. We're going to slide that circle. Whoops. Glue on my worksheet. Not a smart move, Gina. And glue on the thumb. Okay. So, we are going to go ahead, slide that in, push down too much. There we go. It sets quickly, believe me. Okay, I just want to just do it just like that. And then just like this. And center it. People say, how'd you get that layer? That's how I did it. So they're on top of each other. See? So the pecan is on top of the brown, the early espresso. The small sentiment is stuck in between the pecan and the basic beige. Alrighty. Then we're going to use the pecan matte dot. I'm just going to place it right there. All right. Now, we're ready to bring the card back together. Okay. Now, I forgot how I had the ribbon on there. I gotta look at my picture. I don't remember. I worked on it last week. Oh, vertical. Okay, so that's how I did it. So you're going to take this ribbon, and it's drying. It's over here. And what I did is I didn't want it raising up. So I took a piece of tear tape, and I went just at the edge of the DSP and have a little bit hanging off because you want it to hold the ribbon on the back side. Okay? Of course, some comes off on my finger. Okay. Rub that real good and peel from the inside. Here we go. That's where it came off. All right. Now you can roll those around. Okay. As long as it doesn't stick to your hand. All right. Now we're going to take the ribbon and make sure you put the sponge side on top. And just follow the corrugated line. And then you can press on the back side and on the back side here. And then trim. There we go. Now, where's the fold? Over here. So now we're ready to, and I'm not going to use it, I'm not using that, I'm using the tear tape. Go across. And go across. Be sure to burnish that real good. I forgot I got glue there. And then, of course, I'm going to put some here and here. Don't want it to raise up on whoever I give this card to. There we go. And you don't need none in the center. But you want to burnish those real good. And then you can peel those up. Peel that up and peel that up. Now you're ready to mount it on your card base. There we go. That. And be sure you press on all four sides. And of course this one, we're putting the dimensionals on it. I used up all the other ones I got to pull out in the sheet. And you can use mini ones or the large ones. Here's the mini sheet. Okay, nothing wrong with these outside edges. So let me just take my scissors. 1, 2, 3, 4. One here. Oops, wrong side. Not touching the side I cut. One here. Okay. One here. Then we'll cut this in half. Put one in the center and one up here. 5's all you need. And this is just your scrap outside edges. Always use that. Yeah, let's double check and make sure I got the tape off. The backing off, I did. And then here we go. And I lined up with the ribbon as my guide. And there is that one. So, hope you've enjoyed this. This is the Avid card. And let me bring the other two back in. This is the casual. No, this is the simple. There's the casual. There's the simplicity. Simple, casual, Avid. Hope you've enjoyed this. Take care. I'll be back here next Monday. I'm going to be showing the otter set with the beautiful paper and its embellishment and its ribbon. So, have a wonderful week. Thank you for those who are watching me live. And thank you to all of y'all that will be watching me on the replay. Take care. Be sure to share. And have a wonderful week. Bye-bye. What happened?